Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, and thank you so much, Gertrude, for having me today. I am from the San Francisco Bay Area. My name is Dr. Susan Fox. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So when you speak about the elders and the wisdom of our ancestors, I've been fortunate enough to glean thousands of years of wisdom and education through the lens of Chinese medicine. I wanted to cover today the concept, the actual problems that we're struggling with in the realm of fertility or infertility, as the case may be. We're now seeing statistics that show 1 in 5 people are determined to be struggling with infertility. So if you know 5 people of reproductive years, you likely know someone who is. But I challenge the word infertility. I really think that what we're dealing with is sub-fertility. And I think we're dealing with this sub-fertility based on environmental factors that we've been living with for the past, about 50 years. We have been inundated with plastics and toxins from our pesticides to our fertilizers. And we really have taken this basically into our tissues all the way down to the levels of our reproductive organs, our ovaries and our testes. And we're seeing, in fact, that the seminal fluid and the follicular fluid are riddled with microplastics and are riddled with inflammatory markers that, of course, are going to affect the health of the egg and the sperm that will make an embryo and therefore a baby. And I feel really strongly about this because I think it's not only for the success of the woman who wants to hold her babe in arms, who wants to realize her dream of family, but also for our future. These babies that we are going to be bringing into the world need to be healthy so that they can grow up healthy and make healthy decisions on behalf of the planet. So if I can reel back a little bit and dial in on what's happening here at the level of the egg and sperm, we're being driven to presume that IVF is our one-stop shop to baby. But when you think about it, an IVF doctor can only retrieve an egg stimulate an egg and then retrieve an egg in the health that it is. And frankly, the statistics show that to be not so great because women who are 35 and 37 years old, they tend to have about a 35% success rate with IVF. Those who are 38 to 40 years old, that drops down to 25%. Those who are over 40 drops down precipitously to 15%. So what's happening here? We know in older times, not that long ago, in fact, that women were able to have their babies later in life, but we were healthier. So our job is not to just rush into IVF and make a baby with the eggs and sperm in the condition there is. Our job is to make ourselves healthier. And we can do that through the 4 pillars of Chinese medicine that include nutrition and hydration, circulation and targeted circulation. We use stress reduction techniques like Qigong, Tai Chi, and then mind-body exercises. And we use We use what am I trying to say? We use circulation, including targeted circulation, and this is where I think we have a secret sauce here. We can use, in the privacy of your own home, a TENS machine to increase circulation to your ovaries, such that you can enjoy a 42% greater success rate if you were to choose an IVF. This is studies of over 5,000 women. So the data is there, the evidence is there. There's this whole concept of restorative reproductive medicine, which is today being almost in the boxing ring against IVF and advanced reproductive therapies. But I purport that it is not an either or. It is an and both. Many families are only going to be able to use IVF or advanced reproductive therapies in order to grow their families. If it's a single parent by choice, if it's a same-sex couple, many reasons why someone might need to have advanced reproductive therapies. If there is a medical condition that requires that those eggs get frozen or those embryos get frozen. So I really want to be an advocate for restorative reproductive medicine and advanced reproductive therapies. So let's get together on this as best we can. Let's circle the wagons on improving our nutrition, getting rid of the pesticides, the hormone-riddled meats in our waters that are polluted with bacteria and viruses and drugs. Let's do our part, because every little piece that you can employ to remove toxic burden is only going to improve your whole health and your fertile health. And so I really am hoping that we can delve into this story, Gertrude, so that we can take it a little bit deeper.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us today. I guess my curiosity starts with wanting to know how you started your personal journey and what led you into Chinese medicine and fertility care at the age of 40. What was the inspiration?
Yes. Well, I had been in the corporate world before, but I had always had my own healing with Chinese medicine. When I was a young woman, ages 17, 18, I was struggling with what has now become called autoimmune. And at that time, they did not know that word autoimmune, or at least they didn't say the word autoimmune. So I was shuttled between gastroenterology and psychiatry, and both were saying, you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you. But Chinese medicine didn't look for a diagnosis, they looked for a pattern. And in that pattern, it was very clear that the stress I was under at the time, due to my father passing away and our family kind of just being, thrown up in the air a little bit, there was clearly a direct link between the stress and its impact on my gut microbiome and then the symptoms that I was then having. Fast forward 25 years later, I got to a point in my career where I thought I could stay on that gerbil wheel, or I could do something that I knew was going to have an impact. And so I opted to get out of the corporate world and then get straight into Chinese medicine, where at age 40, I earned my master's degree. And then later at age 60, when they were offered, I earned my doctoral degree. I pretty quickly went into the field of fertility because I really saw the need to help these women. It was just really becoming a launching pad for IVF. And frankly, they came to me saying, is there anything that you can do to help? And I said, yes, I think I can. And I need to learn more. So I rolled up my sleeves and did deeper dives into getting specialty training in the area of fertility. As these women started to come into me and see me, I saw a pattern. I saw that they were being diminished by their diagnoses. I saw their spirits being crushed as they were told, oh, egg donor is your only way. Expect to have 5 retrievals. Oh, by the way, each retrieval or each cycle is going to cost about $30,000. And they just said it's an impossible situation. So I would say to them, let's get you healthier. Let's get you healthier and then see. It's not an either or, but let's get you healthier so that you can go into an IVF cycle better prepared. And I would say on average, about 30% of the time, while they were getting prepared, they also got pregnant. And so I knew we were onto something.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's absolutely awesome.
Yes.
Now, you describe the issue as not an infertility, but a subfertility issue.
Right.
Why is this distinction so important, and what's the differentiation?
Thank you for asking that. I feel that it's very important because when we are given a diagnosis like infertility, it seems pretty definitive. It seems pretty finite. It seems pretty much like someone else is going to have to take this problem and solve it for me. But when we're
Yes.
given a diagnosis of subfertility, we know that's suboptimal. And there's something that we can do about lifting ourselves up out of the sub into the optimal range. We do it all the time. And so I think it enlists the mind, body, and spirit connection to restore one's whole health and one's fertile health. It really gives this person agency over her future.
Mm. Oh, it
Yeah.
makes such a difference.
Yes.
Now, what role has the modern lifestyle or the environment played in today's fertility challenges?
Yes. Well, I had mentioned earlier that we see microplastics in follicular fluid and seminal fluid. We
Mhm.
see inflammatory markers in follicular fluid. And of course, those eggs and the sperm are growing in that environment. So I would say that the role of our environment is that we are living in a pretty toxic riddled world. And it's not only what we put in our bodies. We want to make sure we're eating pesticide free. We want to make sure we're drinking purified water. But it's also what we put on our bodies. If I don't know about in your neck of the woods, but if I were to walk into any department store, there are rows upon rows upon rows of different toothpaste, hair care, lotions, potions, all of
Mhm.
which, if you were to pick up that label, you would not be able to pronounce most of the ingredients on that list. Well, those things don't just stay on our skin, they get into our bloodstream. The floss that we use, if it's laced with Teflon, which is what makes it glide easier, guess what?
Mhm.
That Teflon, those chemicals are getting directly into our bloodstream as we floss. So some minor changes, and it feels pretty masterful when we do this. When we make these minor changes, they're making a big impact on our whole health because our bodies want to heal. They want to go back into that homeostasis of a optimal health. So getting
Yes.
rid of some of the perpetrators and then helping to support, detoxification and methylation pathways allows for our organs and our tissues and our cells to clean up and then communicate with each other more
Mm.
more eloquently.
Okay. Now, can you explain how teas works and what that actually means,
Thank
and
you.
why it's such a breakthrough for women?
Thank you. I mean, this is my joy that we now have evidence that transcutaneous electrical acupoint stimulation, TEAS, using a TENS machine, which is a little electronic device where we put pads on certain acupuncture points in our bodies and turn that electricity up just to a very minor point. It will drive blood flow to our ovaries and our uterus. And there has been research, meta-analyses done that has demonstrated an increase in live birth rate for women over 35 undergoing a frozen embryo transfer. So I want to break that down. Women over 35 undergoing a frozen embryo transfer, so therefore have already demonstrated that they're having fertility challenges, are taking home happy, healthy babies by an increased rate of 42%. That's remarkable given the statistics I just recited on IVF itself.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, and it can be done in the comfort of your own home. You do it every other day from the end of your menstrual bleed until ovulation in a cycle where you're trying to conceive naturally, or until your next menstruation if you're not trying to conceive that month, or until egg retrieval if you're going through an IVF process. So in the comfort of your own home, you're getting 3 times a week acupuncture without needles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, what does holistic care, nutrition, sleep, emotions, how does that affect fertility outcomes?
Mhm. Well, we know stress is a huge impediment to all of our hormones, right? We're stressed, and the cortisol gets released, and then insulin gets released, and then we become insulin desensitized, and then that affects the hormonal pathway all the way down to the level of our ovaries. We see that a lot with the polycystic ovarian diagnoses. And we also know that stress for fertility is akin to, there's research that shows that the stress of an infertility diagnosis is equivalent to that of a cancer diagnosis, a heart disease diagnosis, being told you're HIV positive. Those were the research that was done in the day by Dr. Ali Domar. And so clearly stress needs to be attended to. We cannot just think of fertility as something that is just about eggs and sperm. We really need to keep an environment that is as stress resilient as possible, right? We don't live on a bubble or in a bubble. We have stress around us, but we need to put into play the ancient practices. Again, speaking to the elders and the traditions, Qigong and Tai Chi and meditative walks are all part, meditative movement, yoga, all part of all of the ancient holistic medicines. We need to reincorporate that again. So whichever of those might sound appealing to you, Qigong is the Chinese one, so it's part of my program. But we also have just guided meditations that we use with binaural beats that really help shift the brainwave patterns out of its reflex towards the stress response into a responsive resiliency that says, I've got this. I can do this. My body is not working against me. I need to work with my body so that we can do this together and succeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's just amazing.
Thank you.
Now, why do you believe early intervention, especially in women's late 20s, is so crucial?
Yes, I thank you for raising that, because what we're seeing now is women walking through the door in their, sort of early to mid 30s or to early 40s, already kind of sort of behind the eight ball, so to speak. They're already struggling. Probably patterns could have been discovered as early as their late 20s, either patterns that related to their menstrual cycle irregularities or something that could simply come up in blood work, an inflammatory marker, an autoimmune marker that we could begin to deficiency in vitamin D. All of these things are chronic up in the northern hemisphere here. And if we can address those in our late 20s to early 30s, and if we can teach these women that while they may not want to get pregnant now, if their dream is either to have a baby later or just have a healthy reproductive life, attending to this now is going to help get them there a lot easier, a lot sooner. When it becomes go time to have a baby, they'll be ready to have that baby. They'll be ready to have a healthy conception and pregnancy.
Yeah, we have to think about it sooner. A lot of women are leaving it a little bit too late.
Yes, we do. I mean, by design, right? We are designed to be able to conceive in our 20s, in our late teens, early 20s, but let's not do the late teens at this stage in life. And then we're designed to be, kind of wrapping it up in our early 40s. So if we're just beginning in our late 30s, early 40s, we may have missed cues. And so that's where IVF, frankly, and advanced reproductive therapies are brilliant. I am not opposed whatsoever. I'm oftentimes referring people to IVF, but my message is, before you do go into IVF, let's get those eggs as healthy as they can, because that doc can only stimulate, retrieve, and make embryos from that egg as healthy as it is upon stimulation and retrieval.
I like that.
Yeah.
So what misconceptions about IVF and fertility treatments frustrate you the most?
Well, it's kind of twofold. On the one hand, I will sometimes have a patient walk in and say, I've already begun my cycle. I'm going to have my egg retrieval next week. Can you help me? And my answer is, I can try, but we're really, you're kind of there now. And then I'll say, well, and so maybe between this retrieval and your next retrieval, should you need to have another retrieval, because oftentimes they do, let's take some time to, sort of get you ready for a healthier retrieval next time. Well, that doc may say, oh, no, you're primed now to go straight into your second retrieval. So we can be a little bit at odds in wanting to, the best outcomes for this patient. Well, they want the best outcomes, but they have a different point of view. Yeah. So and again, that being said, I am not against IVF or advanced reproductive therapies whatsoever. If a woman is walking into my door at age even 33, 34, saying, I would like to have 3 or 4 children, I say, then let's get you ready. And if you're able to do IVF, let's bank some of those embryos so that they are 34, 35-year-old embryos when you are 38, 39 years old, because just in the natural evolution of life, your eggs will have declined somewhat by that time.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Now, how do you see fertility health impacting society and future generations?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I really think that the predicament we are in today worldwide stems from the leaders of our world making decisions from a less than optimally healthy brain and body. And if we had these people focusing on their health, improving their health from decades prior, I believe that they would be making healthier decisions. We just naturally then begin to want to support health in our family, our community, our schools, our work life, and then further on into the larger community at large, for the climate, for the planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
Thank you. Yes.
Can you tell us about some of the most powerful success stories from women that you've worked with?
Yes, I would love to, because these women are so near and dear to my heart. I think first of Kate. And Kate came to me saying, I've got my eggs frozen. I'm just really wanting to get healthier, so that when I'm ready to do that frozen embryo transfer, I can be in optimal shape. Well, during the course of our work together, she discovered that she was exposed to mold. And so we had to kind of take a little bit of a side turn and really help her detox from that mold, so that she wasn't going into a pregnancy with mold infection. Well, lo and behold, she just rolled up her sleeves and did the work and got pregnant on her own. So she did not at all expect to be able to get pregnant on her own. She was of older years, and so was really delighted to then just have a healthy pregnancy and a healthy bouncing baby boy. I also think of Sarah, who came to me just in tears, having just been told that the only way she was going to have a baby was to use a donor egg. And again, her lament was, well, not only do I want to have a child of my own genetics, but I simply can't afford a donor egg, because that's going to hike up the price by yet another $15,000, $20,000. And so I said, well, again, I can't make any promises, but let's work together while you go ahead and talk with your doc about making plans. Let's do what we can to get you as healthy as possible, because she was really determined to try at least the first time with her own eggs. Once again, lo and behold, by month 3, because you see the arc of folliculogenesis, the time from which an egg is in its primordial pool, kind of getting ready, it's going to ovulate in 3 to 4 months, we can influence the health of that egg over that length of time. So by month 4, came in the door and said, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. Her doctors couldn't believe it. I could, of course, because I was watching her do all the right work. She did everything that she needed to do to turn around her health. And as a CEO, she wasn't living a healthy lifestyle. She was on the run. She was on the plane. She was grabbing the coffee to get through the afternoon, and eating lots of processed food. So she really changed up her diet and lifestyle, got better sleep, and then her body rewarded her for being so kind to it. Fast forward another 2 years, she got pregnant again on her own. It was not a planned pregnancy. And so at age 42, she then was pregnant with her second child. And so now has 2 beautiful daughters, who are as healthy as can be, because she turned around her health. And I have so many of these stories. I have women who were told, they had severe PCOS, so that they weren't going to be able to, get pregnant on their own. IVF was their only route. And so, and for a couple of them, they did go IVF, because their Insurance covered it, and again, they wanted that insurance policy for embryos, but they went through IVF, they got their embryos, and then they got pregnant on their own. So these are the stories that make me so happy. An endometriosis patient, that's it's a very severely inflammatory condition. We worked for about 2 months to get her inflammation down. The endometriosis was also compounded by an autoimmune thyroid condition. So we worked to, again, like temper her inflammation, temper her white blood cells so that they weren't in this kind of state of being a toddler having a temper tantrum and always overreacting on her thyroid. She got pregnant on her own.
Wow, those are some really cool stories.
They're lovely. They're lovely. It makes me so happy. And then there's even one partner, one man who came in and was, slightly overweight, kind of working a couple of jobs and was really not taking great care of himself, and was also on a blood pressure medication that was also a hair loss medication. And I said, I don't think that these are helping you. Can we work with your doctors to get you, titrated down and off these medications while we work on your nutrition? Because a lot of the weight gain for this gent was inflammation. Again, once we took out the inflammatory foods, we put him on a 28-day gentle detox where he was eating regular foods, but he was eating whole foods that were sort of low on the inflammatory grade. He lost 15 pounds and they got pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Those are really good stories.
Yeah, thank you. It just delights me to be able to share in these successes. And it also, I'm also humbled when, because it's not a guarantee. Sometimes a couple has to say, this was not going to be our path, I guess, and we'll either have to choose adoption or another way of bringing a baby into our home, or choose to be child-free. But it's also a very sacred time to be with these people.
So what resistance or pushback have you encountered from traditional medical systems so far?
Well, initially a lot, because I started this about 23 years ago, and Chinese medicine was a bit considered, alternative, to say the least, and kind of woo is the word they would use. So they really diminished what I could do to offer. Thankfully, I just am a tenacious old gal, and so I just kept talking with them, saying, let me tell you what it is that I'm doing, so you don't feel concerned that I'm doing something antithetical to what your outcomes will be, but that I'm working with you on behalf of our shared patient. And so over time, that has shifted such that I will often get referrals now from the reproductive endocrinologists or the OBGYNs who once thought that I was, kind of giving eye of newt to the patients or something like that.
I love it. So now they're working with you. That's
now
awesome.
We're working together. In fact, there is a group called the American Society of Reproductive Medicine. That is the association, an international association where all of the IVF docs are affiliated with and hang out. And we now have what's called a complementary special interest group within that larger organization. So it's, we've really been able to demonstrate with research, because we need to speak their language, the efficacy of our medicine and how we can really help improve their outcomes.
That's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what values guide your mission and keep you committed to this work?
What values guide my mission? I would say that my values are that I, like all of us, am in service to the future. I'm in I'm in service to the future by being in service to what is present in front of me. This is not me being some magician. I am taking the antiquities and the wisdom of ancient Chinese medicine, 5,000 years old, whole systems based, and I'm filtering it through what can be done now with our modern science and our research to really demonstrate that as we treat ourselves healthfully, holistically, as whole beings, we are going to be better servants to the planet, to each other, and to all sentient beings, frankly.
I love it.
Yeah.
That is just fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, what legacy do you hope to leave through your work in fertility and women's health?
Yeah. I love this. You know, I have more years behind me than I have in front of me. So I really feel a strong impetus in this conversation of legacy. I've had the good fortune of being able to use this medicine in private practice for the last 23 years. And yet I see the need is far greater than my zip code. And so my legacy is to get the word out there from the hilltops that sub-fertility can be reversed, and that by implementing some of these basic, they're not always easy because we are creatures of habit, but they're rather simple, you know, techniques to improve our nutrition, improve our hydration, improve our circulation, do this tease targeted circulation, because again, that's the secret sauce, improve our sleep-wake cycles, improve our mental health and our relationship health. I think that's the key to a healthy future. I will be able to leave this planet knowing that my little contribution is going to make a big impact for generations to come.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you, Gertrude.
My last question is, if you could go back and give yourself 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
The first nugget would be, you already have everything within you that you need. So trust yourself, trust that inner voice that says, I've got this. I know this. I have something to contribute. I think that especially in our area of the world, women can be a little bit diminished for what they know in their hearts to be true. So I say, dare to have the courage to speak up and speak out your truth, regardless of what feedback you may be getting. The second I would say is to live my life as I want my life to be led, and then bring in my work so that my work is a reflection of my life. It is not that my life is a reflection of my work. Because again, we are such precious beings. No matter what your belief system is, I hope you would agree, we're precious beings, and our life has value. And when we give our life value, then we can contribute better from the other areas of contribution, like our work. The third thing I would say is keep loved ones close to heart. You know, dare to say, I'm sorry if you've made a mistake. Dare to give that extra minute of a hug to those who you love. Life is fleeting when we think about it. And so take that extra little minute of time to say, life matters, you matter, I matter. And we can take this whole community of being in loving relationship with each other and turn the world around for the better.
Absolutely fantastic, and a beautiful way to end our interview. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you so much, Gertrude. It's been a delight talking with you. I love listening to you. I love listening to you on your TED Talks and your YouTube channels. And so I'm just honored to be part of this conversation today.
Absolute pleasure. And to everybody who tuned in today, the Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who is thinking about your fertility, don't leave it till it's too late, like Susan said.
Yes.
In your early 20s, start thinking about your reproductive health, making those big decisions. And if it is feeling like it's too late, I would say reach out to people like Susan and get the support, get the advice that you need so that you're not trying to do this by yourself. Now, Susan, what is the best website that people can find you?
Thank you for asking. It is healthuniversity.co, and university is spelled Y-O-U, because these are the lessons of you in your fertility, pregnancy, and perimenopause. So healthuniversity.co is the website, not .com. Thank you. Right there. Yes.
I've got it at the bottom of the screen, everybody. Even if it's not you, you might know a woman who is needing this kind of help. Yes. Please share this podcast, share this website link and let's get the help that they need.
Indeed.
I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And thanks again, Dr. Fox. This was an amazing interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gertrude, from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me.
Absolute pleasure. Bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.